Okay, so it's 11:02. I think it's a good time to start the session. All right, so people who have joined now, I've pasted a URL in the chat section for the presentations that I'll be using for this session. So it's not compulsory for to use this URL. You can refer to my screen for the presentation, but if you want a reference on a device, you can use this URL. Wait a second. All right. Yeah, let's start. Okay, so I am Ram Pandey. A bit about me. I am a second year engineering student from Vidyalankar Institute of Technology. As for the technical domain, I have completed 5 internships in the domain of JavaScript, and I have also released 2 NPM packages. So what NPM is and what other JavaScript ecosystem is, I'll let you know. But for this, I think this will be. So now we should start the presentation now. Introduction to JavaScript by Ram Pandey. Okay. So let's start. Before learning anything new, what I do is I understand why it should be used or how it will be beneficial for me. So before I present to you what JavaScript is and how to use it, how is it beneficial for you, I think it would be good that I tell you what are the benefits and why you should learn JavaScript and how will it be beneficial for you. So why JavaScript? So the first major point for anyone that is entering into the coding world now would be to pick up a language that is very popular right now. So if it is very popular, there will be more opportunities. So I'm showing you the Stack Overflow survey of 2019. The 2020 survey is still not compiled yet. So I'll be showing you the 2019 survey. If you see here, programming, scripting, and markup languages, JavaScript has a popularity rate of 67.8%. So it's very popular right now in the industry. All of the major companies are using it. All of the major companies are using it. There are major frameworks being released in JavaScript. So this contributes to the success and what JavaScript is today. So JavaScript. So the first point that you should learn JavaScript is it is the most popular language right now. And the next thing is NPM ecosystem. So now to explain you NPM, what NPM ecosystem or what does NPM is, I'll explain it to you using an analogy. So let's say if you want to have a sofa at your house, all right. So there are 2 ways that I can construct a sofa and use it. So the first way is that I create it all by myself. I buy the things that I will require like glue, wood, etc., etc. And the next thing is that I can order a pre-made sofa. So the result of both will be same. Like I'll get a sofa, but what the major difference would be that in that case I'll have to do extra work, and then in the other case where I have to I can online order the sofa, there will be less effort I take, and plus the result will be same. So same is the NPM ecosystem. So what the NPM ecosystem provides us is basically it is an open source community, people from the open source community coming together and contributing to make the software development process a bit efficient. So how does it make it efficient is basically loads and loads of people come together and contribute to code. So for example, if you might have heard about the frameworks like React.js, Node.js, etc., etc. The major point or why it succeeded was because of NPM. Why NPM? Because it provides a community where you can put your code. So what do I mean by that is, imagine if you want to make a web server, all right, using Node.js. I don't know if you have any knowledge of Node.js, but just for your information, Node.js is used as a backend language. So you can manipulate databases with it. So for example, if I want to make a web server with Node.js, now there are 2 ways that I can make a web server. The first way is I code the whole web server, like how will the request be added and other etc. stuff. Or the other ways I can use a packager. Like the most popular package right now is Express.js. This package is used by many industries, many organizations to build their backend to support their backend ecosystem. So again, there are two ways. I could code the whole web server, or I can use this Express.js. So what this does is it cuts down the process, cuts down the effort that will be needed. If you have joined right now, it would be better if you know mute your. Yeah, sure. Let's start. Hello. Very sorry I unmuted myself. So where was I? Did Hello Shuk? Where did I left off? Do you know? Okay, all right, all right. Okay, thank you. Sorry for the distance. Okay, so what I was saying is there are two ways that you can create a server using for starting from scratch and building up, or the other thing is you can use a pre-made package like Express.js and use it to build a web server. So what the benefits are? Express.js is not built by a single person or an individual. It is an open source software. So like thousands and thousands of developers come together and contribute to make Express.js secure and free from security issues. So what it does is makes the package more efficient. If you try to build a software from the scratch, what will happen is you will encounter some roadblocks. You will encounter some problems. But if thousands of developers are coming together and contributing to this package, this would be better instead of creating a package of your own. And there is a very famous quote in software development: "Do not reinvent the wheel. Never reinvent the wheel. If there is a package, then you should use it." Okay, so that is the second point, NPM. Now the community. Since JavaScript is the most popular language right now, you might expect that the community is also that big as well. So yes, the community is very big right now. If you go to GitHub and just search JavaScript, you will get thousands of repository right now. Since it's very popular language right now, there are many people starting their career using JavaScript, only JavaScript. Like they only learn JavaScript and they kickstart their career there. So that is another point, community. There are so many options to choose, start developing opportunities. Okay. So the next thing is opportunities. Like since this language is very popular, if a programming language explodes, what it creates is opportunities for others to expand on it. So before JavaScript was very popular, or before the invention of NPM, there was very less. JavaScript was only used in web browsers. So a bit history, like JavaScript was first invented to use in web browsers only, to make web pages interactive. All those marquee stuff that you saw, that GIFs, 1990s web, all that was made possible using JavaScript. So now the opportunities part. See, if you Google it right now, React, you can see the number of downloads. Like it's in 8 lakh downloads. So a weekly downloads, not also monthly. It is weekly downloads. So this contributes another part to learning JavaScript. There are so many opportunities right now. If you go to any job listing site, you will see tons and tons of listing of React.js, AngularJS, Vue.js. So, but for learning this React, or learning the other frameworks, what you first need to learn is JavaScript. So that's another reason. So now let's start with the learning part of JavaScript. So JavaScript is really easy. Really easy. So the first thing whenever you learn something new is learn the definition. And for JavaScript, what I refer to mostly is there is a documentation site, MDN JavaScript. If you encounter any roadblocks in your journey ahead where you want to learn something new in JavaScript, you can always refer to this website. This is a very great place where you can all the fundamentals of JavaScript is covered, and what JavaScript is today or what was it before. All of these things are listed here, so you can refer here. So according to MDN, what definition of JavaScript is? I'll read it in first go and then I'll explain it to you bit by bit. All right. So JavaScript is a lightweight, interpreted, or just-in-time compiled programming language. Now, what do you mean by this? JavaScript is a lightweight. Okay. So first, when the decision was made that we want to make the web pages interactive, the first language that was chosen for it was Java. But why was Java ditched? Because of this size. The files that were spit out by the Java compiler are almost around 200 kbs, 300 kbs, just for 10 to 20 lines of code. So the next thing that was invented was JavaScript. So that's the reason JavaScript is being used in the browser, because it's very lightweight. Like if you have any apps, you might know that there are sizes for the apps as well. Why are there sizes? Because that is a computer file. It might be in kbs, it might be in bytes. So if you code a JavaScript file of around 200, 300 lines, it will go around 1 KB only. So that's the power of JavaScript. It is very lightweight. So the benefit of this is there is very strong emphasis right now on the loading time for a web page. So if the file size of JavaScript is 2-3 MB, the loading time will increase, and your page will look very bad. So that's the reason JavaScript is better to use in the browser, because it's very lightweight. And the next thing, JavaScript is lightweight, interpreted, or just in time. Now, to understand interpreted, you need to know two types of programming languages. There are two types of programming languages. One is compiled and one is interpreted programming languages. All right. So let's understand the difference between the two. So to understand the difference between the two, we'll first take the example of compiled programming languages. So compiled programming languages include, C++, C, if you might have heard of these programming languages. What ideology of compiled time programming languages is, basically there is a software or there is a mechanism. There is a software that takes the input to that software will be your code file. Your code file where you have coded, like this is a code file, right? So this is not a file right now, but imagine that this is the content of the file. So take an example, the software will take that code file, scan it, like see if there is a syntax error. What syntax is? Basically what you write in English for any programming languages, it's syntax. Because why do we need to scan it and process it further is you understand English, I understand English, and others as well. But the computer does not understand English. What it does understand is zeros and one. It talks in the language of binaries. So what you need to do is convert this English syntax, like var variable. And what is this? I'll come back to it. But convert this English syntax into zeros and ones so that it will be understood by the computer and it will execute the instructions that is given to it. So that is the reason. So what a compiler does, it scans the whole file and checks if there is a mistake. If there is a mistake, then what it will do is it will not process it further. It will throw an error to the user that there is an error in this and this line. Please fix it. And if there is no error, what it will do is it will spit out another file. That will be a binary file that you need to execute. So the languages like C++ and C, what they do is there is a software, you input the code file. What they give you out is a binary file that you can execute on your machine. But now let's understand the concept of interpreted. So interpreted works on a different ideology than compile time languages. How? What interpreted programming languages do is instead of going through the file for checking the syntax errors, they execute and compile the code file in simultaneously. What they do is they check the code, they check the file line by line. So first they will check this line. If there is an error, it will show it to the user and it will stop execution. If there are no errors, it will execute it. So what it does is what in compiled programming languages was that that execution and compiling was done in separate steps. But here the syntax checking, the execution, everything is done in a single step only. So what it will do is scan the first line, execute it. So it will execute this line. Next, it will go to the next line. It will scan again and execute it. So that's how interpreted programming languages work. Or just-in-time compiled programming language. That is just-in-time compiled programming languages means like there are two steps for the interpreted programming language. Now, the first one is to check the syntax and to execute it. What the execution part is, is handled by the just-in-time compiler of JavaScript. So that is the difference between compiled-based languages, compiler-based languages, and interpreted-based languages. So examples of other interpreted languages include Python, Haskell, etc., etc. So they are interpreted programming language, and this is a compiled time programming languages. JavaScript is an interpreted programming language or just-in-time compiled programming languages. Okay, so I hope that you are understanding. If you have any doubts, you can ask me in the chat section. Okay, I'll answer. What I'll do is I'll answer all your doubts, after the session. So that will not break my flow. Okay. So this is it. Now to the next part, JavaScript variables. Now to understand what variables are in any programming languages, this concept is transferable to all programming languages. All right, there are variables like in most of the programming languages there are variables. So if you understand it here, it will help you in other languages as well. Okay. So to understand the concept of variables, you need to understand why do we do programming. The main reason, the main motive behind doing programming is to manipulate data, to use data for your needs or creating or displaying data. Okay, so imagine if you have data, how we got the data, it's not necessary. It might be from a server or it might be from a file. But imagine if you have data, all right. So what you can do is you need to refer it after you have got the data. Like programming, how it works is it executes line by line. So if you do not store data in your memory, in your device memory, it will be lost. You cannot refer to it. So the reason variables were invented is to refer to the data types or data that we want to refer later. That's the reason JavaScript. That's the reason variables was invented. Okay, so. We understood why variables are needed in any programming language. It is needed to store or refer the data. Afterwards, afterwards the instruction that we got the data. All right. So in JavaScript variables, there are three keywords using which you can create variables. So I'll be going through all of them, and I'll be showing you examples of how you can code, how you can create your own variable. All right. So before that, I want you to know how is JavaScript file executed, or how is JavaScript executed using a compiler interpreter. So the most available, so the best available option where you can code JavaScript is your window browser. Okay. So if you open a new tab, for example, if I open a new tab here and I press Ctrl+Shift+I or using right click, I click on the inspect element option. You can see that there is a window being displayed here. This is called as console. Okay, this is a playground environment or very interactive environment where you can code JavaScript. So you can code JavaScript here, or other thing you can do is if you have a code editor, at the end the JavaScript will be executed in the browser only. So how to execute a JavaScript file that you have written, I'll show you later. But right now, this is the available option that you can use right now is a new tab option. So for example, there are three types of keywords that I can use to create variables. So the first one, var. Okay, so a background about it. JS is dynamically typed language. What do you mean by that? JS is dynamically typed language. There are two types of programming language. One is statically typed and one is dynamically typed. So to understand the difference between this, you need to understand what data is. What are data types? Okay. So I think everyone of you know what data will be. Data is a kind of information that you can manipulate or you can use it for your needs. So there are various data types right now. Like for example, to mention them, numbers, string, and then null undefined in JavaScript there are. So the basic two data types are numbers and string, that all of you know. What is a number? A number is a, 1 2 3 4. The examples of number 1 2 3 4. What is a string? Characters, or a sequence of characters. So this is data. There are two basic types of data, right? So JS is dynamically typed. So what do you mean by dynamically? There are two types of programming languages. One is statically typed, and the other is dynamically typed language. So what happens is statically typed languages, you have to specify in the code that what type of that, if you want a variable to store a number, then you will have to specify to the code in the code file that the variable that will store the number needs to its type needs to store a number. There is you cannot store if you create a variable that will store a number, you cannot store a string in it. You can only store a number in it. So that is what statically typed languages is. On the other side, what dynamically typed languages do, they do not have a type. Like if I take a variable, I can store anything in it. I can store a number, or I can store a string or other data types as well. So what this creates is this is what dynamically typed languages are. So some examples again of statically typed languages are C++, C, and in dynamically typed languages are Python and JavaScript. Okay. So this is what so JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, so it does not have data types for variable. You do not need to specify any data type that this variable will contain a number or this variable will contain a string. So now how to create variables using JavaScript? So there are three ways you can use to create a variable using JavaScript. The first one is var. This is the oldest keyword that you can use to create JavaScript. When JavaScript was invented, it has been used since that time. Okay, so how you create a variable is what you need to do is type the keyword var. Now what keywords or tokens are in any programming languages are basically set of characters, like var are set of characters or sequence of characters that is known to JavaScript or the software that will run JavaScript, that this is a var. If I am writing var in my code file, what I want you to do is create a variable. So that is what var will do. It will specify to the software that the word that will follow will become a variable. All right. So now if I type, I can give it any name. So if I give it a name of data, there are again some rules for creating variables, which I will tell you. So var data. So for example, if I want to assign it a number, so I'll assign it a number. That's it. var data. It's that simple to create a variable in JavaScript. So what you need to understand is there will be a keyword, or there is a pattern. If you see, there is a keyword on the left side, var. That keyword you cannot use it anywhere. The only way you can use it in JavaScript is to create a variable. And after that is the name of the variable. Like, what do you want to refer it? I want to refer it. So for example, var data. Okay, now I want to print the data. So in JavaScript, the function or the keyword which is used to print the data is console.log. So if I console.log, you will see that one is being printed. So that's how I can refer to data using variables. So the reason why data was created to refer to variables after the execution of the initialization of that variable. That's the whole motive of creating variables, so that we can refer data. All right. And store it in memory. So whenever I type console.log, what JavaScript or the software that will be executing JavaScript will do is basically go to the memory, see what data is associated with the name. Here I've taken data. So for example, let us take this var a is equals to 1. So what if I print console.log a, the JavaScript software will go to the memory, see what is the corresponding value that a has been assigned to. So it has been assigned 1. So if you see here, this is an operator, equals to operator. What this does is assigns. Basically, it tells the JavaScript software that take this keyword data, take this keyword and assign it with a value of 1. So that's the first way of creating variable in JavaScript, var. So first method to declare variable in JS, variables declared with var are included within the function scope. Now the second point in all of the types, I'll explain it to you afterwards. Now just focus on the fact that first, what are the three different methods that are used to declare are used for declaring variables in JavaScript. Okay, and the value of the variable can be changed. Now I've defined variable. So now I do not need to again and again specify that var data is equals to 1. I do not need to specify that. If I type here var data equals to 1, I do not need to do this again and again. Why? It's because now JavaScript does in the memory the data with the data word is being stored. Now what I can do is I can change it using this data is equals to 2. All right. So what this will do is it will change the value that was 1. It will change it to 2 in the memory. So now if I do console.log, what it will do is it will print 2. So the first type is, so I'll again, just a quick refresher. The first type is var. It is used to declare variables in JavaScript. It was the oldest method, and we can change the value of the variable further if we want to. The next type was let, L-E-T. Okay, it was introduced with ES6. Now, if you have been using apps in your mobile devices, you might know that there are various versions of an app. So there is version 1, version 2, version 2. Same goes for many programming languages. There are various versions for each and every programming languages because they evolve. The ecosystem as a whole, the syntax, they evolve from each and every version. Okay, so ES6 is similar a version of JavaScript. They release new versions of JavaScript each year. So they are being named like this: ES6, ES10, and the latest one is ES10. So this all started in 2010, and that's the reason it is ES10 right now in 2020. So yeah, it was introduced with ES6. These two variables, these two keywords, let and const. What this does, so ES6 was a very major update to the JavaScript ecosystem. It brought so many changes, like it changed the ecosystem, it changed how we code in JavaScript. All these modern frameworks like React.js, Node.js uses ES6 as to strengthen it. You can do the things the old-fashioned way, but ES6 provided you a better way to do things. So now with ES6, it introduced two new keywords. Why were two new keywords introduced? There was some security issues, or there was some problem with var. So that's the reason they introduced two. The problem with var, I'll tell you why it was ditched, and everybody now uses let or const in JavaScript. At least if you want to make your code readable, you should use let or const in JavaScript. Okay, so the first point is introduced with const. It is similar to var. It is very similar to var. Like the things which you do, the things that you did with var data, I can do it with let too. Let a is equals to 1. What it will do is create a variable a that is stored in memory and its value is 1. So now if I do console.log console.log a, what it will print out is it will print out the value of a, or what a is. What is the value of a? Okay, so this is the part where let was introduced, and the next keyword and the final keyword is const. So what const is used for? It's used for creating data. It is used for creating variables that whose value will not change with time. Why? Because if we do this now, a is equals to 2, it will change the value from 1 to 2. But what if we want the value for a to be constant throughout the execution of our software? What if we want that the data of a is very sensitive and we do not need and someone can tamper with it? So what we'll do is we will use a constant keyword, const b is equals to 2. Now what this will do is it will create a constant variable b whose value cannot be changed. If I try to change the value of b, for example b, it will throw me an error, uncount type error. Assignment to constant variable. What the software that is executing JavaScript is telling us is that the variable we are trying to change, the value of the variable we are trying to change is a constant variable. Therefore, we cannot change the value of constant. So these are the three keywords that are used to that are used nowadays for creating JavaScript variables. So now there are some rules that you need to follow. To create variables in JavaScript. So the first rule is variables name cannot contain spaces. As you see, I cannot create a variable here like let a and b is equal to 2. I cannot create that. Unexpected identifier, it won't know. Why? Because in memory, it has to store a constant sequence. In memory, it has to store a constant sequence that this variable A is assigned a value. It cannot store spaces. So that's the reason first rule of Java, creating JavaScript variables, and it's also transferable to other programming languages as well. You cannot create a space or give space between variable names. So the first rule is that you cannot create spaces, that you cannot enter spaces between variable names. The next thing is variables must begin with a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign. It cannot create with numbers. It cannot be created with numbers. So the first letter that I type here, it cannot be var2 AB. It cannot be this. Okay, it will throw me an invalid or unexpected token. There is the creator or who created this language, who created the software that compiles this language, has given us a set of instructions that we need to follow. And this is and the second point here there is that you cannot use dollar sign, that you cannot use numbers in it. All right. And variable's name must begin with a letter, an underscore, or a dollar sign. Third point, variable name can contain only letters, numbers, underscore, or dollar sign. Other characters like hash, etc., it will not be used. So that's the third point. And the first point is variable names are case sensitive. So for example, if I create two variables here, let a is equals to 2. Let a is okay. A has been already been defined. Okay, so I'll come to that point that I cannot change. A has already been defined here, so that's the reason I cannot use a again here. So I'll use another keyword. Why we cannot use a again? I'll explain it to you. After this. All right. Let c is equals to 2. So and I create another variable like c, capital C equals to 2. There are two different variables now. So that's the reason it is case sensitive. So the fourth point is that they are case sensitive, and the fifth one, certain words may not be used as variable names. As I said, there are keywords in every programming languages that you cannot use. So var, let, cons, and other keywords as well, which we will see further in this session, is they cannot be used for creating variable names. So if I create a variable var, it will not accept that input. The reason behind this is JavaScript, the software that is executing this program, has this set of instruction already present in it. That if it's that if a user has coded var, what he means is that he wants to create a variable, following the name, and if you provide that name with a keyword, it will not accept it. So that are the rules to create a variable in JavaScript. So now that is dealt with. Now the next thing, how I've already shown you this, that variable declaration var a is equals to ram let b. So now these are the types. All right. So now what I want to show you is how you can code in the JavaScript file here and run it in the browser. So for that, JavaScript is not a it's not like other programming languages that there is a software that you can execute. There is Node.js, but that is out of the scope of this session. So for this session, what we'll be using is a browser. So how you can execute JavaScript JavaScript file is you have to create a HTML file. Why HTML file? Because what browser does is render your HTML pages. So what it will do is it will scan the browser will scan again your HTML file. So first it will scan h1 introduction to JS. This is nothing but this introduction to JS. All right. So this is nothing but this. It will scan, and then next thing is the script tag. So if you are not familiar with HTML, there are tags. There are tags which have meaning to it. So for example, h1 is a tag, script is a tag. These are tags that tell the browser instructs the browser that what do they need to do. So if I use the script tag, what it will do is it will look for the file name index.js in this directory, and it will see that there is a file index.js, and it will take it and execute it. So that's how. No. Right. So that's how you can run JavaScript in browser. So if if I refresh the page, if you see my code file, what I have done is I've declared three variables: var, using var, let, and const. And what I've done is printed them out. So you can print multiple variables together using the console.log statement. And what it will do is it will sequentially print the values of the variable that you have specified in the console.log function. All right. So what it will do is it will go into the memory and see what value is associated with A, and it will check that it is associated with A. It is the value is Ram, so it will print Ram. And for B, it is 23. That is a number, so it will print B. And for D, it is Rishabh. So for D, it will print Rishabh. All right. So now this is how you declare variables. Now, if you are creating a software, declaring a variable is not the only thing that you need to know. There are other concepts to variable as well. So this is the explanation part. We got an error. We got an error where it was showing that I cannot use the same name for variables. All right. So first I'll explain you the reason why that error was shown. So as I said that what the JavaScript software does is it creates a partition in your memory that will store the data associated to the variable. So if I have declared a variable A, what it will do is it will go to the memory and dedicate some space for A and store its value. Now what happens if I again use that name A? So what it will happen is it will create two different memory spaces for the same name. When you want to refer, why do we create variables? To refer data. When you want to refer to a data again in your further in your code file, so the software will get confused, like which one do you want, the first one or the second one. So that's the reason the software restricts you to create variables with same name. So that's the reason why you cannot create two variables with the same name. Now the next thing, so the major difference between var, let and const. Now I'll be explaining that to you using this function. Okay. Okay. So before that, you need to understand what scopes. You need to understand. So I told you that you cannot create variables with two names, but there is an exception. You can when in the 1980s or 1990s when the memory size was very small. And when the memory size was very small, and you had to create an efficient software. What they did was they came with the concept of scope. So what a scope is, basically you can imagine it as a code window. So what a code window? So if there are two code windows here, index.js and index.html. So if I type, imagine that this is a JavaScript file. Let a is equals to 2. Imagine if I type let a equals to 2 and let a equals to 2 here. There are two different entities. So what the JavaScript engine will do is, it will, if you declare let a equals to 2 here and let a equals to 2 here, it will not tell you that, it will not throw an error. What it will execute the file that as intended. Okay. So the concept of scope is very familiar to a code window. So how you can create a section or a scope is using these curly braces. If you use this curly braces, if you use this curly braces here, I can create another variable like a is equals to 2, and it will not throw me an error. Why? Because this scope is different than this scope. So this is a global scope and this is a local scope. What do I mean by local scope is it is inside a global scope, but the values like a and other things that I have defined or that I already defined here, I can use it again here. So what is a scope? A scope is nothing, if you want to imagine it this way, is basically a code window, but it is enclosed within curly braces. So I can use same variable names between both the scopes. I can use a here again and I can use a here again. So that's how you can create variables with the same name. Now that's what the major difference between var and let. If you see, var and let do exactly the same thing, but there were some issues with var that were not with let. So that's the reason var is being dished and let is being used. So the main reason here is I think I should not for this you need to understand what functions are. So for right now, imagine function as another scope. All right. So if you see, there is a code blocks there is a scope right here. So if I use vrd here and vrd here, they will not interfere with each other. I can easily create a variable named d here. So and inside the scope, I am creating another scope. And I'm using it, and I'm defining a variable there, vrd is equals to 23. So what this will do is, this will create a scope. First, what JavaScript software will do is create a scope here, then create another scope inside it, and it will then assign d with the value of 23. So now, if I execute this file, remember what I told. The best practice in all programming languages is that you cannot refer to a variable outside of its scope. So if you see vard, it can be refer. If you see, I have defined vard, but I'm trying to print console.log. So let's see if it will be executed or not. Index.html, and it was executed. Okay, so this is a major flaw with var. What it does is, instead of creating its scope surrounded by braces, what it will do is it will be assigned to the corresponding function scope. So that's what second point here is. Variables declared with var enclosed within the function scope instead of the scope that I have created here. So you might be wondering, why is this a problem? So this will be a problem if you create another VRD here. If I'm from another programming languages, I have my background from other programming languages. What I will do is I will understand that VRD is in this scope. So I can use I can do this by VRD is equals to 23, and they will both be different variables. But that's not how it works. It will not work like this. Why? Because VARD is enclosed within the function scope instead of this. If I want to do some another code like this, console.log d here and console.log d here, this will print out two different results. This will print out the same result. If I var d here, what this will do is it will print d here also. So I cannot create another variable var d here, because in a scope there needs to be only one variable. As I told you, that there needs to be one variable with the same name. So that's the reason it will create problems. That's the reason var d was ditched. So the reason was because it was instead of creating its scope enclosed in this brackets, what it will do is it will enclose in the corresponding near function. So now I'll comment this out. And the next one, let solves this issue. What let will do, let will give you an error. So what let will do, instead of enclosing its scope for the function, it will enclose its scope to the corresponding next bracket. Whatever the next bracket it is. If I execute this file, it will give me an error that d is not defined. Why? Because d is not defined in that scope. This scope and this scope is different. They are two different scopes. So that's how that's the reason why let was introduced, instead of and it's being used in all of the if you want to make a code readable, you will definitely use let instead of var. And the next one is constant. So again, constant is nothing. If I execute this file, you see that constant d is equals to 23, and d is equals to 23. I've assigned it. Will throw me an error that I cannot change the value of a constant variable. Assignment to a constant variable. So it will not execute the file further. So that's it for the variable part. Now, quick refresher. Like, what did we do here? There are three types of variables. There are three types of keywords using which you can create JavaScript variables: var, let, and const. And the difference between them I have told you. All right. So now let's move forward. Now primitive data types in JavaScript. Now to understand data types, you need to understand that there are different types of data. Like, data can be a number, data can be a string. So that, there are different types of data, that you can manipulate. So in every programming languages have one. Again, this is a transferable concept to other programming languages as well. Every programming languages has its own set of primitive data types. Now, what do you mean by primitive data types? Primitive. The word primitive data types mean is that these value. These data types are already known to the software that will be executing the code. So I told you that there are keywords like var, let, const, etc., etc. So these things, string, there are 7 different data types. So these things like string, number, boolean, etc. What these are, I will explain you. These are already assigned. Like, JavaScript knows that if a variable with a string data type is there, what it will have is sequence of characters. If a variable is assigned a data type of number, what it will have is a number 1, 2, 3, not A, B, C, D. All right. So these are the data types in JavaScript. There are 7 different data types. Before ES6, there were 5. All right. So with ES6, one more data type was after ES6, 2 more data types were added. That is begin and symbol. So I'll tell you what all the 7 data types are. So the first one is string. What a string data type has, it will contain a sequence of alphanumeric characters. So alphanumeric characters, like it will be enclosed within these double quotes, and within these double quotes, whatever I write, it will be considered as a string data type. So if I write let a is equals to string 123, that 123 will not be considered as a number. It will be considered as a string. And how does it differ from the actual 123? I'll tell you after when we discuss the code file of this. So let a is equals to string type. What it will do is it will assign the value of a with a string data type. So the first type is string. The next type is number. It's self-explanatory. What does number data type will do? It will assign a sequence of numbers like 23, 42, 45 without the double quotes. If you see there is no double quotes here, what it will do is assign a number data type to the variable b. Now the next type is Boolean. Boolean, it's like Boolean only has true values right now, true and false. It will have only two values in in every programming languages. What it does, it stores true or false. Like where do you need to use it? Imagine if you are getting a data from the server, so you want to know that the data reached you or not, or the execution of the code in the server was successful or not. So what you will use is a Boolean to specify that the execution was successful. So that's how Boolean is used. So if we assign it like c is equals to true, what it will do is it will assign a value true to the C variable. Now again, true or false in JavaScript are keywords, so you cannot use it for variables or other things as well. So it is a keyword. So, and the next thing is undefined. Now imagine if I want to create a variable. So what I will do is I will create a variable and I can leave it like this, like d is equals to let d. So what it will do is it will create a separate memory partition for d, and it will just store there. Like there exists a variable, it does not have a value, but there exists a variable named d. So that is what, and if you do not assign any value to a variable, what JavaScript software will do is it will assign undefined to it. So what undefined means is it does not have a value. It can be considered as a falsy value, like false. It does not have a value. The programmer has just told us, has just instructed us to create a variable d, and he may or may not change that value. If it's used by constant, obviously you cannot change it. If you are using let, then you can change for the value of d further. So that's what undefined is. So the next thing is null. Now there is a very fine line between null and undefined. Okay. So what how the difference between them is can be explained only how you use it. So what many what a programmer will do is he will create a variable d, and he will not assign it a value. So what that the value for that will be considered to be undefined. But if programmer creates a variable and he does not want to give its value, what he can do is he can assign it to null. So what JavaScript engine will do is it will assign a variable e with the value of null. So that's the difference between undefined and null. They are both used, as a placeholder for the data that will come, further ahead. So these both are placeholders. The difference between them lies in how you use it. So that's what undefined and null are. And the next thing are 6 and 7 are symbol. Okay. So to understand the concept of symbol, you want to create a difference between two things that are similar in nature. Like for example, if I want to create a difference between foo and foo, F-O-O, I want to create a difference, like for example, hypothetically, I want to differentiate between them. I cannot differentiate between them because they have the same set of characters, they have same set of data types. So what JavaScript provides you is an interface symbol. So if I use this symbol, if I use this keyword symbol and use this function, what it will do is if I input foo as a function input, what it will do is it will create a separate instance of foo, and it will store it in f. Now if further ahead I want to again create another variable which will be storing foo in it, but differentiating between the previous one. So what I will do is again use the symbol keyword, input it in the value that I will input its foo, and therefore it will again it will create another instance of not of that variable but the instance of foo, and it will differentiate. Now I have two values that are similar in nature, that have same set of characters, but still they are different. If I we will learn about the equal to operator to check that if two things are equal or not. So if we check using the foo symbol, what we'll find is they are not similar. So that's the reason symbol was invented. Now the next thing is BigInt. So what BigInt was used for? There was some problems with JavaScript numbers. Okay, and JavaScript numbers also, I have one more thing. JavaScript number consists of both decimal points as well as integer points. So if I use let d is equals to 23.2, it will assign 23.2. There is no specific data type for a decimal number, different data type for decimal number and different data type for integer. All of them are stored under one data type, that is number. But in other programming languages there are differences. Okay, so again, so what BigInt will do is BigInt is used for creating bigger numbers than the maximum number that JavaScript provides you. So it's around 2 raised to 256 minus 1, the maximum that JavaScript provides you. But sometimes we need to manipulate the data so high that we need bigger numbers than that. So recently this data type was introduced, BigInt, that provides an interface to create bigger variables than the one we can already store in JavaScript. So but to create a bigger data type, what we need to do is we need to append an n after the number. So if you see here, let b is equals to 23, the difference between the number and the BigInt type is that you need to append an n after the number. So that's what primitive data types are. Now I'll explain. This is just an explanation of what it will do. Let a is equals to this code file is not the same thing that was there before. String data type. This will create a variable named a, that is string data type. And again, you can check the type of type of data type for a variable using the type of operator. There is a special keyword, type of operator. What it will do is it will print out type of what the data type or what the value which is being stored in a, what this data type is. So if I execute this file, it will print the data type. It's a string. All right. So I can do this for each and every thing, like console.log type of p, console.log type of c, console.log type of d. So what it will do is it will print the data types or what the variable that is being, the value which is being stored, what its type is. So number of for b, boolean for c, and d was not it was not given any value. That's the reason it is being showed as undefined. Okay, so this is what primitive data types are. Now on the other side, there are many a times there are requirements that you do not require this, that you require something other than these primitive data types. So JavaScript provides you interface for that as well. In JavaScript there are non-primitive data types. Now what non-primitive data types are? Non-primitive data types are data types which are not whose value is not being known to the JavaScript compiler or the software that is executing the JavaScript file. So that is what non-primitive data types in JavaScript are. And again, so now there is a very big concept here, like everything in JavaScript other than every data type in JavaScript other than primitive data types are objects. So what objects are, I'll tell you in detail. But first, if you know a bit about programming, you might know what arrays are in JavaScript. We'll go through array, and after that we'll go through what objects is in JavaScript. But remember this, that also an array is a object in JavaScript. So for it, if you console.log the type of this, if I assign this to a variable, and if you console.log, what it will show is an array. But in the end, where the variable is being created, it is an object. Now what objects is, I'll explain it to further. But now first I'll explain what arrays are. So now imagine that you want to store data in a sequential manner, or you want to store similar data but that have different values. So for example, imagine if I'm a developer of Facebook and I want to store the names of friends of a person in somewhere in my memory so that I can display it to the user who is requesting it. All right, so there are two ways I can do this. What I can do is I can create multiple variables. So I can create, friend one, so f1 is equals to his name, Ram. Okay, let f2 is equals to any name like Shobh or anything like that. All right. So the one way is that I create multiple variables and store it in these variables. But this is a very tedious process. I have to create, and this is not a good approach too, because I don't know how many friends will there be. I'll have to take a dynamic approach rather than this. Instead of creating a variable for all the friends list, what I can do is I can create an array. What an array is in JavaScript is you can basically create a object or a data type where you can store data which are different in value but sequentially. So for example, I can store all the friends name here sequentially, like Ram, Shobh, and then it can etc. It can expand, but for now I'll be using these two only, Ram and Shobh. Okay, so now this if you see this creates an array which is an object. Okay, so now how do I refer to it is using indexing. So what array provides you an interface is, array provides you an interface. So how you can refer to Ram is, if I assign it to a variable, let a is equals to Ram and then Shobh. Okay, so what this will create a variable. What is the error? Identifier A has already been declared. Okay, let B is equals to Ram. Okay, I'll copy this thing. Again, uncode identify. Okay. So I understood the error. The error here is that it was taking the input from this variable. So that's the reason. And in these files, A, B, C were already been declared. So I'll refresh this page. So it will. You need to refresh the page to tell the browser that I have commented that code and I no more declared those variables. So if I use again, let A is equals to Ram, and if I create another name with Shobh, so what this will do is it will create. Okay, I forgot to put a comma, a rookie mistake. Okay, so what this will do is it will create a array with the contents Ram and Shobh, and it will be assigned to the variable A. So if I want to use the value of A, Ram, so what I can do is I can start with the A of 0. What this will do is it will instruct the JavaScript engine that go to A and start with its first word array, the sequence in which you can refer to the data being stored in arrays using indexes, and that these indexes start with 0. So this is how you can refer to Ram. A of 0 is equals to Ram, and then A of 1 is equals to 0, and it will continue. So this is what an array is. All right, I put a wrong bracket there. This is what array is. So this is what array is, and now the next thing. Now on to objects. So now you understand that array is used to store data with similar types, but data in a sequential manner. But sometimes data is not this simple. Like if you want a friends list of a particular person, it will not only contain its name, but it's, for example, let's take if I am creating a mini Facebook, what the requirements are your name and age. So I want to if I click on your friends list and if I want to see your friends, then I also want to see your age also. So using this, then what I will have to using this approach, I cannot create that array where I can simultaneously refer to the age of the person and the name of the person. So so that's the reason JavaScript provides another interface is objects, and these objects are the fundamental building blocks of JavaScript. Like each and every non-primitive data type is made using this JavaScript object literal. How do you make JavaScript object is the same way you create a function scope. You just create curly braces, and then you assign it with a key value pair. So the definition of objects, main definition of objects is it is a data type where key value pairs are comma separated. So if I create this name Ram, then for age, if you see it is comma separated, name and age are comma separated, and 19. Now and let's store it in a variable, so I can refer to it. Okay, let A is already been defined, so what I'll use is B. Let B is equals to this object. So what now this does is it will create a partition for B, and the data will be an object where there will be two contents, name and age. So now I can refer to it, b dot name. So if I print, that is a dot operator using which I can refer to the properties of an object. So if I print out b dot name, what it will do is it will print out the value which is associated to this. B dot age, what it will do is it will print out my age, 19. Okay. So that is what objects are. So now, that is the reason why objects were invented to, store data which are not similar in nature, which are not similar, but they are related to something. Like this data name Ram is related to me. So the data which are not very similar, but it is related to a specific thing. You can use an object to create it. So now arrays and objects are used together to power the web. So how do they do it? How do they do is you can now, if I want to access the friends list, which will contain friends name and the age as well. So what I can do is I will create an array here, and within that array can store any data type, right? So an object is also a data type. It is a user defined data type. That means I am defining what will the contents of it be. So now what I can do is name, and then I will just create a single element, name Ram, and then age. All right, 19, and that's it. This will create is it will create an array whose element will be a data type, and there will be multiple values to this. So there will be a data at 0 which will contain this. I can append to it and create another. I can add another data to it. So that's how. So now what I can do is, if I want to show all the friends' age as well as their name to your Facebook friends, what I can do is loop through this array. And what loop through will do, I'll show you what it is. Basically, loop through this array and display the content. So this makes the software development process much easier. Instead of creating variables, what we can use is we can create these objects and arrays together and display the whole page. So this is what. So this is another example of non-primitive data types. Now this is what objects are. Now you have seen how JavaScript objects work. There is a key and there is a value. This is how other data types. If I had created a array here, Ram, then sure. Now what this will do is okay, all right. See, another thing to note here is, if I open it with a double quotes, I need to end it with a double quotes. I cannot, if I open it with a single quotes, I cannot end it with a double quotes. So you should take care of that too. What this will do is it will create a key value pair. If you see, 0 is a key and Ram is a pair. Ram is the value, and 1 is the key and Shubh is the value. So that's how objects are. Created in JavaScript. Everything other than the primitive data types like number, string, undefined, and all the 7 data types that we saw. Everything other than that in JavaScript is an object that has key value pairs. Okay, so this is what objects are. Now the next primitive data type that is very important and you should know about is functions. So what functions are? So function is not native to JavaScript only. It is used in each and every programming languages. Now how you can except for the ones that are object based on that do not use functions. So the programming languages that do use functions are for example, JavaScript, C++, C, etc., etc. So what functions are? So to imagine what functions are, imagine it as I'll give you an analogy. Imagine it as a black box. You give something, you might give something, or you might not give something. But you need to perform some operations on some of the input that you will provide and return the value for it. So that's why functions are used. So another thing, this is the first reason. Now another thing, the other thing why function is used to create modularity between code. So to understand the concept for modularity, or separating the code base, you need to understand. Take an example of your house. So in the house, I can live in two ways. Either I can create this as a messy house, throw stuff there and there. If like I can scatter stuff all around, and if someone new comes in my house to stay, so he will see that this is a very messy place. Or the next thing I can do is I can put objects where it assign objects to it, that this place will contain this, and I'll assign these things, and I will create I will clean my house regularly. So what if someone new comes in and see my house, he will appreciate me. Here, imagine that house is your code file, and the new guest is the new developer, and you, the person who is staying here, is the programmer. So if a new developer comes in and sees your code file, if he sees that there is temperature of concern being used, like how do you do this is using functions. So what you do is, using functions, you create separate code blocks, that this code block is assigned to do this thing only. It will not interfere with others. So it will be very efficient for the other one to debug the code, and provide valuable feedback to you, that instead of creating the whole code in a single file, and there will be no scope. So each and every time I will have to create a new variable because of global scope. But if I use functions, I can use the variables that are used before, and I can without any interference or without any errors, I can execute my code. So that's the reason functions got invented. Okay, so the syntax for function in JavaScript is like this. There is a keyword function. It will be preceded by its name, curly brackets. This needs to this tells the JavaScript compiler that the variable a is the function name, and whenever I call this function, I use this variable a, what you need to do is go to the memory and pick up the value assigned to it a, and a value assigned to it, and execute it. What do I mean by execute? Is basically run the function with the code which will be inside it. So I'll show you this. This is what we have already tried. What functions I already showed you how functions work. So this is what function B is. How I'll use this. I'll create a function B, and for the time being, I'll just remove this extra block that I had created for explanation. What I'll do is function B. I'll enclose it within a scope, and I will do something. I can do something, anything here. If I can create my own data type, or I can loop through an array, or I can do anything here. Another thing is, I can pass an input here. For example, B, I am passing an variable A, all right. And now I imagine I just need to print. For time being, I'll just print it what A is. So what I can do here is print A. So now when I call B, in this in line 53, I'll pass something here. So for example, RAM. So what this will do is, it will assign the value RAM to this variable A, and it will run and it will print out this. So this is how functions are. You can either give it an input value, or if you want, you don't. If you don't want to, you cannot give it an input value, and you can perform manipulate it. Like here, I can manipulate the variable RAM. I can assign it another variable, and I can print it. So that's how functions work. If I execute this file, RAM2 will be printed. All right, RAM2. So that's how variables are. If I comment this code out and I execute this file again, RAM will be printed. So that's it. So that's what functions are for. Basically, it is used for creating, it is used for differentiating between different scopes. And the next thing is keeping your code file in a cleaner way, so that when another developer comes in, he will appreciate your thought, that you have given thought for through this also. Okay, so moving ahead, the next slide is about operators. Okay, so as I told you, programming is done to manipulate data. So to manipulate data, we need to perform some other operations as well. So for example, if I'm taking if I take a number like 23, I need to manipulate the data. For example, I want to add something. So many programming languages provide you with these set of characters that you can use to manipulate that data and provide and get the result that you want. So for example, in JavaScript, there are 4 different types of operators. They are the arithmetic, logical, comparison, and string. I'll show you what it does. So for example, addition. Okay, so the how we can do it is using the plus operator. So so what it will do is, if I am using a variable, let's say here, this is a file. Let f is equals to 3 plus 2. So what a JavaScript compiler will do is assign the value of 3 plus 2. It is same as the what we do mathematically, what we do arithmetically. The operators are same. If I print out here console.log f, what it will do is print out the value of this operation. So you can perform these operations. You can perform various manipulations on data using these operations. So these are the operators in JS. So first one is plus. The next one is minus. That is subtraction. It will again do the arithmetic operation of subtraction. So 3 minus 2, it will give you the result of 1. And for multiplication, we do not use the variable x. Instead of that, in many programming languages, what we use in an asterisk sign. So the asterisk sign, if you want to input the asterisk sign in the code file, what you can do is shift and press the 8 button on the keypad there. So you will get the asterisk sign. So that is what that will perform a multiplication operation. So that what it will do is, so if you give it the two in data types, 3 into 2, it will output the value 6. Now again, these operations many times in JavaScript, you need to perform these operations on similar data types. So if I want to perform addition operation, I need to perform it on either a string or a number or a number or a number or a number. All right, I cannot. You can. There is another concept that is intermediate level concept in JavaScript. I will definitely recommend you. You can perform operations like string plus number. What JavaScript that software that is executing JavaScript is do it. It will assume that what you want to do is, instead of using a number, you wanted to create another. Okay. So presentation is on, right? Yeah. Okay. What it will do is, it will where was that? So what it will assume is that you want to create another string, and what it will do is, it will store the number 2 with a string. So that's how operators are in JavaScript, and using these you can perform various manipulations on the data. So this is since time does not permit us, I'll quickly explain each and every instead of executing the file. So we have already done the multiplication and division. Now the next thing is modulus. So what modulus is used for? It is used for the remainder operation. So if I want to find the remainder between two numbers or what I will do is, I will use this operator 10 modulo 5, and it will give me the output of the remainder. Since 10 is now perfectly divisible by 5, it will give me the remainder as 0. Now the next operator is increment operator. What it will do is, if we assign a variable x with the value of 3, and if we do it plus x, now there is a difference between pre-increment and post-increment. What pre-increment will do is, before executing the file, it will increment. Before executing the line, it will increment the value. And what post-increment will do is, it will, after incrementing the value, it will increment or decrement it, depending on the type. And the next is logical operators. So what logical operators will do is, it outputs true or false, whether the operation that you are performing is true or false. So if I want to perform an AND operation, what AND operation will do is, it will accept two inputs on its both sides, left and right. What it will do is, it will take the left input and it will take the right input, and it will see whether both of them are true or false. If both of them are true, it will output true, and if even single one of them are false, it will output false. So it will work with it works the similar way as AND operator that you use in the logical gates. Okay, and the next operator is the OR operator. So what the OR operator will do, it will check the Boolean value on both sides, and it will tell you whether both operations, even if single one of operation is true, it will output the value true, and even if it will only output the value false if all of the values are, if both the inputs is false. So that's what a logical OR will do, and the logical NOT will basically negate it. If it is true, it will output false. So if you see here, what it will do is, 3 is not equals to 2. So the output is true. That's it. And the comparison operator is works in a similar fashion. You can use equal to operator to check whether the data types that are provided on both sides are true or false. So in this case, 5 is not equals to 9. That's the reason it will output false. Not equals to operator, as you can see, it if 6 is not equals to 4, that's the reason it will output false. And the next thing, less than 3 or 2. Okay, I think it's already time. So I'll just the this is a control structure slide. If and else loop. This is I'll share you the slide and code with it. So what it will do is basically create various branches among your code, so you can use it to control the flow of the execution. So for example, if a certain condition is met, like for example, the data that I got from server is true. Like I got the data instead of if I code a server in such a way, if the execution of the code file was successful, I will return true. If it was not successful, what I will return is false. So so using if and else statement or other control structures, what I can do is I can input a certain condition, and if that condition is true, it will execute the code which is enclosed within the if block. And if it's not true, it will execute this. Okay, same goes for others. So this is what control structures in JavaScript are. Since time does not permit us, I'll gaze through this. Now this is the last slide. Where to go from here? Okay, so this was a very basic like seminar on getting started in the JavaScript land, the pros and cons of JavaScript, like what JavaScript can do, what are the data types. So if if you want to explore more, if you want to explore further, like what JavaScript can do, what other things that what other things has JavaScript has to provide you, what you can do is I'll give you three simple steps. First is learn ES6. So what ES6 is, as I told you, is a better version of JavaScript. Learn ES6. So ES6 is a version. It is the biggest update to JS since its inception. It brought many changes to the language. So the first thing is ES6. There is a link here. If you click on this link, I'll be providing with the presentation. So what this so using this is a blog that where if you understand the basics, if you understand what I taught you, you can easily read this blog and learn ES6 on your own. Practice it. Obviously, practice makes a man perfect. So what do you need to do is practice it. Then the next thing is learn TypeScript. So as you know, JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. So what this does is it creates many errors. So for example, if I use a string variable, I can assign it to a number too. That is not acceptable, or from people from other programming languages that have come to JavaScript do not appreciate that. All right, why? Because they are used to assign, if it is a variable, if it is a variable with data type string, if I change its value, it should be a string. So that's the reason TypeScript was invented. What TypeScript does is it adds type safety to the variables in JavaScript, or objects in JavaScript. So after learning ES6, what I will tell you is learn TypeScript, and after that, again there is a link for learning TypeScript. This is a link, and the next thing is pick up a JavaScript framework. Now from here, if you are learning JavaScript, I'm sure that many of you may learn JavaScript because of its popularity and the vast ecosystem that it has to provide you, like React, Node, etc., etc. So what you can do is pick up if you have the basic concepts clear, like ES6, TypeScript. TypeScript is not a basic concept; that is an optional step. If you want to learn TypeScript, you can learn it. If you don't want to learn TypeScript, you are very well free to explore the JavaScript ecosystem. So what you can do after this is pick up a JavaScript framework like React, Node. But for that, you first need to have a basic fundamental. You have to clear all the concepts that what JavaScript has to offer, like objects and stuff. So practice them, and I think that's it. So I end the presentation here. So if you have any questions, you can ask me in the chat right now. I'll try to answer all of them. Hello, Shub. Difference between block scope and function scope in Lext and SCOM. Okay, so the major difference, as I told you, block scope and function scope. You should understand the difference between let and const. All right. So function scope in let and const. Okay, not in var and let. They are the same. You in const also it is assigned to a block instead of being it in a function scope. It is assigned to a block. So if you assign a const variable, in a block scope, it will be the value for that variable will be only available in that block only. It will not be assigned to a function. It is again assigned to that. Okay. I didn't understand use of Express.js. Okay, so that's an advanced concept. That was a way to tell that there are so many frameworks that you can choose and create software. So what Express.js does is Express.js is a framework that is used to build software that is used to build web servers. So using you can create a web server on your own, like you starting from the scratch, assigning variables. But instead of that, what you can do is use Express.js and build upon it. So that will cut the time to make your software into half, not one third of its time, and plus instead of a single developer contributing to contributing the product, there are thousands of developers coming together to making this product. So that would be better instead of using your own individual software. How I actually don't get difference between block and function words. Block and function. I didn't understand what you are trying to say. I actually don't get difference between block and function words, like the keyword or what is a block. Okay, imagine a block like imagine it as a code window for so what function does is function is a keyword or a type which tells the JavaScript engine that if it is being executed what if it is being called with the variable name, what you have to do is execute the code which is in it, but only when it is being called. Like if I comment this out, it will not run the function. But what scope is, basically this creates another scope. It will, whenever it is executing or parsing through the file, it will execute this code. So the only the major this is the capital. So the only major difference between scope and function is that this function will not be called, or the code which will not be executed if you do not call the function. And also for a scope you cannot provide an input, like you cannot provide an input to it. For a function you can provide an input. So these two are the major differences between block and function. So the block will be executed no matter what if if you are providing that file, and for a function it will only be the coding will only be executed only if the function is being called. Popular frameworks / languages needed to become a full stack developer. So I would recommend right now, seeing the market, the two frameworks that you should learn is Node.js and React.js. If you learn these two languages, you are self-sufficient. You can get internships in this. Or if you only learn Node.js, still you can get internships in Node.js. All right. But interpreted languages tend to be much slower and load than compiled. How does it affect server performance? To be honest, the difference between compiled time languages and interpreted languages will only be seen if you are using it for that purpose. So, for example, if you use Node.js for data manipulation, like to manipulate a data or a file, if you want to break up like 1 GB file, if you want to do it with Node.js, it will obviously give you less performance. For that, you have to use another programming languages. So whenever you use something, you have to see whether it's suitable for my need. So you have to use, if you want to, create something which requires a database, then you should do Node.js. Why? Because it is used for that purpose only. It is used to create a web server which will be of non-blocking nature. What non-blocking is basically, it will be faster instead of a compile time programming language. So, compare the trade-offs between the options that you have and use that. Okay. So, interpreted languages, so it will not affect if you use it for your purpose, like extracting a value from database. It will give you the same performance as that of a language that is compiled like C, C++. And plus the another reason to use JavaScript or interpret language like JavaScript is because of the open source community that it has. right now it is very popular, so the people contributing to it is more. So that gives you an edge over, if you work with C++ or C, you will have to create everything from scratch. Or, even if there is a framework, there are frameworks for C++ to create web servers, but the people contributing to it are very less. So that increases the chance of security issues. So that's the reason, you should use JavaScript if you are creating, again, frameworks that require database operation. So everything is a trade-off. You have to consider trade-offs. First question was, Express.js is used for building web server. How does it compare to already used MSQL Server? That's all. Okay, so MSQL Server, they are totally different thing. MSQL Server, what MSQL Server it does is it is used for database interactions, not for data. It is a database management system. So what it will do is it will interact with your database. What Express.js server will do is it will provide you that interface, that code to interact with the database. So that is a very advanced topic right now. Like if you, it is not related to seminar, but what this will do is if you how server works is basically you send a request and you get a response. So that intermediary, that between the request response, that is being filled by Express. Not by, and what in the backend MySQL server or MSQL server does is it interacts with the backend. The code which you write in Express.js will interact with the MSQL server, extract the data from the database, and then respond to you. So they are totally different things. They are not the same thing. The use cases are different. All right, then. Any other question? I think this is it. Sure.
Okay. If anyone has any other questions, you can certainly ask now. But I would like to thank Ram for taking this session today and helping us understand the introduction to JavaScript. We are certainly planning to have some kind of a course into one of the frameworks, either React, either Node, either Angular. We are trying to figure out which would be the best, and we would like your opinions on whether you would like to enroll for the same. So we'll be floating a Google form in the JavaScript group for understanding what would your preference be, which particular framework would you like to learn, and how much and how would you like the course to be, whether you would like a certification for it, and so on and so forth. So we'll float the form in the group in some time. I request you all to please fill it up so that it helps us to bring these kind of sessions on a more regular basis and make those sessions better as well. So I thank Ram. I do not think anyone has any questions. So we'll end this meeting now. And I hope that everyone, but this session was useful for everyone, and we can meet in these kind of sessions again and again, probably from next week onwards as well. Thank you all. Thank you, Ram. And we take your leave.